This is not your traditional podcast.
The true story of what it is to be a black entrepreneur in Canada.
This might not be something you heard before.
Whatever you're doing, man, and just come along on this journey with us.
Let's get to this bag together.
I ain't a business, man. I'm a business, man. Now let me handle my business.
So, boom, we're here. Episode 1, Season 2 of the Businessman Podcast. You got myself, Nevell Provo, a.k.a. Vel Smooth, and my bro here with me, Corvell.
What's up? What up? What up? A lot of people call me Velly, but, depends on how you know me. Corvell, Velly, it's all the same, man.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, really what we want to kind of get started with this podcast. It's been a while since we've been on it. We're kind of turning this Businessman into a podcast series. So you can find us on Apple Music or wherever, Apple Podcasts or wherever else you get your podcast, YouTube, all that good stuff. We've been gone a while. People been asking us everywhere we go. We get the conversations and, asking us questions about the business. So we want to kind of come back and, lay the game down, learn with everyone and kind of hear about that. So, Corvell, you can kind of add a little bit to that as well if you want.
Yeah, I mean, we've been just working. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've been building businesses, and I think, it's hard to kind of step away and really reflect back. But I think it's a necessary part, when you think about, like, we did our best work when we would kind of get back to the table and chop it up. So I think, these podcasts not only for to kind of share the game, but also to kind of reflect on it for ourselves and build on what we've been building. So, it's just kind of peeling the curtain back as always and, look forward to another season.
Exactly. I mean, what you can kind of expect this season, a lot of us just like you said, peeling the curtain back, digging into our businesses, digging into what we've been getting and going on, really sharing our story and, growing and learning with a lot of people. So, today's episode, we really want to do something cool and kind of, through our journey, we always consider ourselves serial entrepreneurs. I asked Corvell a bit about what that means and where he thinks that came from in a minute. But, through our journey, a lot of years of being in business. So we really want to look at kind of every business we started from day one and dig into it, kind of hear how it started, why it started, all and lessons that we learned from it.
Right.
So that's kind of what we're going to chat about today. So, first I'll kind of ask you, Corvell, when you say serial entrepreneur, what does that mean? Where do you think that comes from?
Well, it's not breakfast.
No,
right?
No.
You know what I mean? And I think the word serial entrepreneur, to me, it just means somebody that, like, they are only in the field of creating and running their own business. You know what I mean? Not to take away from people who kind of have a business on the side or, they had one business. You know what I mean? But, like, serial entrepreneurs are people that are constantly starting, constantly creating businesses, constantly running businesses, more than one, more than two. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of the definition that I take of it for myself is, like, I have no intention on ever working for somebody else. You know what I mean? Like, I'm always trying to create or start a business. And that's not to say that I don't want a boss or nothing like that. It's just this is the field that I'm in, and so this is what it is, right?
No, I mean, I can relate to that a lot. And, for me, when you think of serial entrepreneur, well, first you think of a serial killer. That's what it is. That's where the term comes from. And it's someone that can't stop killing people and got a lot of bodies, right? So
it ain't just one.
You know what I'm saying? So with serial entrepreneurship, I think, we really embody that because, man, we just be starting business with fun, man. It'd be like, we got 2 businesses on the go and we're like, well, shit, what else can we do? We see opportunity or we mess around, buy some jet skis. We mess around and, start a bank and whatever the hell it is. But, we just got in my spare time, I like starting businesses. Like, that's kind of what I like doing for fun. So we kind of really embody that term. And, my next question, before we really jump into each business is kind of where do you think that comes from? Where do you think that stems? How did you fall into that?
I mean, like I said, like, I think it's a creation. It's creating. It's taking something that isn't there and putting something there. And also, part of it is solving people problems, right? So, like, for me, growing up in the family, I watched my dad be somebody who was a solver of problems. He didn't even really always know it, but he solved a lot of problems. He was a creator, very creative guy. And so I think just that natural inclination to kind of, like, solve other people's problems. And one of the differences, though, I always looked at, like, the monetary value. Like, I think for me, watching him do what he did, and then when I took it on to myself to kind of, like, just solving other people's problems, but I wanted to get paid. You know what I mean? So, like, putting the two together, I think that's kind of where that came from for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I can relate. again, we're brothers. We grew up at different times, but similar, obviously similar upbringings. Yeah, definitely with Pops, seeing him, he was all over the place doing a lot of different shit, from parties to James Brown dancing to wherever he could get his hands in. And he was really looking to help people, starting the North Crescent Bulls organization. And, for us, I think, that need came from, not having the financial piece and really wanting that and seeing that and jumping into it from there. And then, another part, I think, North Crescent, we have a real entrepreneurial history, right? Dating back to, when we first got here, we had, and it was a need. We had no other way to eat. And I remember, like I said, a lot of stories of, being young and starting businesses. I always tell the story of selling potatoes at work, at my mom's work, selling slingshots at school. And I've been thinking lately about working with Aunt Lola May. Right. So Aunt Lola May,
shout out to Aunt Lola May, man, for sure.
Hustle,
selling reeds.
Selling reeds. So, man, she would go in the woods, her and her husband, gather a bunch of pines, I think it is, and go from door to door in the south end of Halifax selling reeds. So I was walking. I live in the south end now. It's crazy full circle. But I remember, that journey of knocking on doors, each door, and selling reeds. And through that, I kind of learned and understood business. And I learned that, okay, shit, if I hit 100 doors, I'm probably going to sell 10. So now let's get more doors. Or I could see that my work and my, my efforts resulted in money, right? It wasn't just like you come to work, you get paid for your hours. Like, no, if you put in work, you're going to get paid. So just really seeing that journey and, some nights come home with $60, $70 at age 9 and 10. Right. We was getting paid and we was working. So a lot of those stories kind of resonate.
It wasn't attached to the time. You know what I mean? You could sell there all night, and if you ain't sell nothing, you ain't get nothing. You know what I mean? You might get a burger on the way home. She might feed you. You know what I mean?
That's
so
like
the only thing guaranteed was you were gonna eat.
That's right.
Other than that, it was that, like, it was commission based. So I think that put the hustle in you for sure. Definitely. Shout out to Aunt Lola May, man.
Lola May,
selling reeds.
Real hustler.
Shout out to everybody that selling reeds up home, man. Like,
it's one of the businesses that kept us alive.
100%.
Right?
One of the biggest exporting businesses for sure for the community, man.
Reeds, pavement.
Yeah.
And something else. Something else we might not talk about.
The wreath season is good times in the community for sure, definitely.
Sure. And right before Christmas.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna get into it. So like I said, there's a lot of different businesses. We got about 10 different businesses that we started along the journey. Some Corvell kind of did when I was a little pup, so I'd ask him. But we're gonna get right to it. Boys in the Wood.
Before you even go there, I was just thinking too. PHNW was the first business.
Frig, man, I didn't put that one down.
I was like,
put that one down.
I was missing something, but PHNW was the first business that I was a part of. It's crazy. Like, Player Haters Never Win Entertainment. Me and my brother, Dice, we were doing parties. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, we grew up. He had a birthday party one time, and the shit was popping, right? Like, early on, like, we were young, and so the next year, it was like, all right, cool, like, we're gonna do it again. And then I did a party, and then we just did one like a random time, nothing to do with no one's birthday, and the shit was popping, and so we kept doing parties, and I think it was around when I was like 16. Yeah. That was the first time that we did, like, we kind of like, we're going to make this a business. We're going to do parties. Like, we do parties, you know what I mean? And, so we actually registered. Like, we went and registered.
I remember seeing the paper and seeing the license plate and all that shit.
All that, you know what I mean? And every party we would be a part of, we would just brand it PHNW, and it was kind of a household name, you know what I mean? For sure, so.
People used to walk around with the shirts, and it was a strong brand in the hood for sure. Yeah. My kind of question is, you touched on it a bit, but why? What was the why behind that? Why did that start? And kind of walk us through the initial early days of it.
I think, like, it was a need. It was a need. Like, we young kids. We like music. We like partying. And the only time, like, to have a party, you would need parents. You know what I mean? A lot of times, to have a party, you would need parents. You would need your parents to kind of, like, book the DJ, buy the pop and chips and all that. Give you a place to have the party and all that stuff. And so what we realized too, like, after having those birthday parties was, at the end of the night, like, you make a lot of money. So I remember, like, being able to pay mom back for the stuff that she bought, and then you leave with, like, $200, and at the time parties were like $3. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, like, boom, as we kind of were like, shoot, like, get some money in this. So now it's like, let me pay somebody to give me this venue. Let me pay somebody to for the pops and chip. Like, let me go buy that shit, and then, you know, at the end we're gonna have money as long as we got people. So I think that's kind of one, we needed money, but two, like, you needed parents, so we kind of became the parents. So like, people would come to us and be like, man, I'm trying to have a birthday party, like, and we were like, all right, cool, like, what's the day? And then we would go through the whole procedure for them, and then we would basically throw them the party. You know what I'm saying? So like, that was kind of how it started. Like,
party planning, early days. Early days.
Like, book the DJ, go rent the system.
No, I mean, there's a lot to parties, and a lot of people don't, you know, understand that until you have a party. That shit, you know, there's a lot of steps. And once you did it a few times, and I remember you guys having parties all the time, right? I'm upstairs listening, you know, trying to sneak down all the shit, right? But I was still young. But no, that's dope. What would you say was kind of your biggest challenge in that business?
I think the biggest challenge was like, see, it's crazy because, like, if I put myself in that moment right now, the biggest challenge was like, you know, tangible things like being able to book venues or as we got a little bit older, like, you know, going through the process of getting liquor licenses and DJs and all that shit. So like, I think at those times, those were the biggest challenges that I was feeling and we were feeling at the time. As I look back, one of the biggest challenges was, you know, the money management, like the accountant piece, like to really kind of make it a business. Like, we registered, like I said, but all that revenue and shit, like, we ain't really record. So like, when it came time to end of the year and they looking for new registration and all that stuff, like, that's kind of how we fell off. You know what I'm saying? So like, in the moment, it was the logistics of the business. In hindsight, I think it was, you know, the professional administrative stuff, right? You know what I mean?
No, that's dope. And, you know, at age 16, and I think Dice probably was about 18. To go through that and to learn that, you know, that's a real good learning process, and kind of lead you on to the next one, which we're gonna go into, Boys in the Wood. You know, tell us a bit about what Boys in the Wood was, when it was, how old were you, and just kind of the how and the what.
I think I was about like 18, 19 when we started that. Me and my oldest brother Early, and my best friend Buster Brown, and my other friend Lokes, so we you know, we were looking for something to do. Like, you know what I mean? We had a couple dollars and we were looking for something to do. And again, like, you know, we were seeing, I think it was like my grandmother, she ordered some wood, some split wood, and it was like $250 at the time. But logged wood, we could get a quarter log wood for like $90. I'm like, shit, like, the woodman is making money.
That's right.
And so, you know, we kind of had some free time on our days, and so we just were like, you know what? We're going to start a wood company. So we had a plug, so we bought, I don't even know, like 50 cords of wood. You know what I mean? And we got it for a sick deal, like $70 a cord. You know what I mean?
I remember that day. They had the big truck. Right? I remember like grade 4. And all the woods in the back. Like, that was a lot. It was probably most wood I ever seen. And then, you guys just start knacking away at it.
We just started chopping it up. So, you know, like, we were literally a wood processing company. You know what I mean? And who
was your customer? Who were you selling to? What did that look like?
I mean, you know, the community, a lot of people in the community had wood stoves. And a lot of people have wood stoves, but like, in the community in North Preston, like, a lot of the black community in North Preston, Cherrybrook, East Preston, a lot of people had wood stoves. So like, they were our main customers. And at the time, we ain't know shit about like advertisement or nothing like that. So it was kind of like word of mouth. And what we did was, you know, we just kind of undercut the game. It was like, all right, boom, they selling it for $250. Well, we're going to let them go for $225. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And if you get 3, we'll do it for $200. So like,
economics.
You know, like, simple kind of,
street economics, bring it to the real life.
Exactly.
Quickly kind of tell me, what was it like working with, you know, your buddies, your brother? I think Dad might have been involved a little bit. Tell me a bit about that.
I mean, that was the biggest frustration. Like, you know, it was fun because we had a great time. Like, it was always cool. Like, you know, like I said, like, we hanging out anyway. So now we're just hanging out cutting
up wood.
And, you know, I guess, so it was good. It was fun. I think the biggest challenge was the, I guess, accountability piece. Like, who's in charge here? You know what I mean? And a lot of times, you know, when you got 4 people that all have equal value into the business, but nobody's necessarily in charge. So now it's like if I wake up at 8 and you wake up at 10, and we got to have something done for 11 type of thing. So that was kind of like the biggest. And Lokes, he was lazy. You know what I mean? Like straight up.
Still,
you know what I mean?
Can't get my hair cut on time.
Yeah, I think he found he niche right now though. But like at the time, like he was lazy. Like he ain't waking up on time, and we reporting to the kitchen. We reporting to the place at 9:00 to be ready to go. And he come at 10:30 and all that shit. But it was like I ain't he boss, so I really can't
get on him.
Can't say nothing to him. You know what I mean? And then so just that shit. We ain't never meet. We kind of we bought the wood, we sell the wood, who's the customer. So just those type of things, you know what I mean? Like no real structure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and I think, how old were you then? 20?
18, 19.
Okay, so that was about 2-3 years later. But yeah, and in those days, without business experience, without really knowing, okay, we're not structured people as is. We got to work to be structured. So in those cases, like, all right, we just got wood, we're going to sell the wood. And, but you realize and you learn, and then we'll keep going through as we learn about creating those structures in business and creating those, ways of commit and what's the word I'm looking for? Accountability pieces okay, well, we're all friends here, but I'm in charge of this, right? I'm in charge of this. I'm responsible for this. We're really structuring this thing where it can make sense and we can all kind of put our pieces in it rather than just kind of being so laissez-faire. I had a next question. There's a funny story that I always hear. I didn't really get all the details, but there was a wood splitter in Early. So tell us a bit about the wood splitter in Early.
Yeah, so we again like we started this thing, so it's like all right, shit, like again it was $70 to buy a cord of wood, $250 we selling it for. That's the price, $225. So there was all this margin in between, and we kind of understood that game due to the recent business that we were in together. That's kind of how we came together. You know what I mean? Like we was out there hustling together. We were putting our money together. So when we were doing this thing, so we bought a truck, we bought a wood splitter, we bought chainsaws, we bought all that shit. And so a few years had passed, and we kind of had let the business go. You know what I mean? Like we weren't even really in the business like no more, but we still had all these assets. You know what I mean? We still had all this equipment and shit. And so Early, he kind of took it upon himself, like he was going to sell it, right? And he kind of sold it, I remember, for like dirt cheap. Like, you know what I mean? It was like, I'm like, man, what like, you all right, bro? Like, you know what I mean? He had sold a wood splitter, and it was like, and I remember Dad being pissed because he wasn't like an owner of the business, but he was like he worked with us. He was our employee, but he was like our main guy working with us. Yeah. And so he kind of felt like the shit was his. Like when the business had closed, he was like, "This like
typical Dad.
I got all this equipment." Yeah. So like he had been running it and using it, and then one day he come to look for it, and it was gone. He called me up, and I was living in Toronto at the time. He was pissed. Or whatever, but yeah, like Early had sold the wood splitter on him, and right,
No, that's dope. And quickly, just what would you say is kind of your biggest lesson from that business?
The biggest lesson I learned from that was I didn't want to work hard physically. You know what I mean? Lesson. Like that was for me. Like, because I'm a hard worker. Like you know what I mean? I'll get up, I'll go, I'll work hard. But I knew after that business that I ain't want to work hard physically. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't want to put my body through the physical rigmarole or whatever you call it. That's
real to learn early on, because a lot of guys, they go through life, and now at age 40, age 50, I got to do the hard labor, right? And it's like, well, it's too late now. I can't go back. But if you would have got that lesson early on, how hard work is real hard work. We ain't built how we was built in the 50s and 30s to be able to chop up wood and kudos and
put me at the back of the slave line. You know what I mean? I'm going for cheap. I ain't, you know what I mean? Unless you got something like brain work or something, but put me at the back. I ain't working hard for nobody.
It wasn't letting the slaves use their brains. So shout out to freedom, man. Exactly. Shout out to Nova Scotia.
Yeah. I would have been a dead slave. Shot the master.
Ran across the. I was gone with Harriet Tubman and them. Next business we got Thompson Construction. So tell us how old you were for that one. And the reason why I'm doing this kind of chronological, so again, I would have been still in junior high and high school, so I got a business come up next.
Yeah.
But yeah, Thompson Construction. Tell us how old you were and kind of when and the why that came about. Well, tell us how old you were and what it was actually.
I was probably 23.
Yep, sounds about right.
I was about 23. I had did some work with Primerica before that, selling insurance with Uncle Dwayne and shit. and I was about 23, and you know, I had come back home. I seen all the, you know, the people in the hood that was making money was construction guys.
Yep.
Shout out to the Smith boys. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like those were the people that were making money legally. You know, business wise. You know,
Yep.
there was other people that had jobs and shit, but like, you know, they were making money. So I was never really the smartest person to kind of like, you know, I was a copycat. You know what I mean? Like I would see what was working.
Sometimes those are the smartest people.
Yeah, right. And I would just go and do what other people are doing. You know what I'm saying? And then they had bread, and so I'm like, shit. Well, if I'm trying to get some legal money, I got to do
That's what I gotta do.
what they doing, and they were making it. So I kind of, you know, I'm like, I'm gonna start a construction company. I ain't know shit about construction. I ain't never paved before. I ain't never landscaped before. I ain't never drove a dump truck before.
Yep.
And you know, I bought a dump truck, right? Pig in a blanket. You know,
How much did you spend on the dump truck? How much was that? And where'd you get it from?
I paid like $19,000 for my first dump truck. I think it was a 2001 and 2015. I had found it on Kijiji, I think at the time. It was in, I had to drive up, me and Dad drove up to Dalhousie, New Brunswick, or Bathurst, New Brunswick.
Yeah.
And, you know, I had purchased a truck from a guy up there. Yeah, the 19 grand. Like I remember like I had 50 grand. I had stacked 50 G's. I'm like, all right, I'm going to start me a business.
Sure.
And I'm going to get rich. And, you know, I bought the truck, registered the company. I did all the thing. I went to the construction safety course, did all the shit, got all kind of equipment, you know, and I was like, I got 50 G's and I'm going to get the equipment and everything, and I'm going to have a float of like 10 grand. And I remember like 3-4 weeks in, the float had been like $700, right? Like it's just so much stuff that I had been
Business
purchasing.
expenses get you.
Yeah, and you know, kind of got off running, and 2 weeks in, boom, truck break. You know what I mean? Major breakdown. I need like 10 grand to fix it or whatever. And yeah, Thompson's Construction. Cool story real quick. Thompson's Construction, the name came from, you know, both my grandfathers had passed away. My dad's dad had died when he was like 13. So when he was 36, my grandfather, and my mom's dad had died when he was like 52. I was 8 years old. And, you know, I just wanted to kind of do something to create a legacy for them, like to allow their names to live on. So Tommy Provo is my dad's dad, and Lester Beals my mom's dad. And I just kind of merged the names together, Thompsers.
Thomas and Lester.
Thomas and Lester.
And then
Thompsters.
And then what did Thompson, yeah.
Yeah, I had almost went brain dead for a minute, you know what I mean?
For a second too.
But yeah, so yeah.
That's what's up. And, you know, quickly, so after the truck broke down, that was kind of that was the end of it?
No, I got it fixed. I was legging around doing the thing for a minute, and it was weird though, because I had still been living kind of in Toronto and still doing my thing, and back and forth, and I realized that like the back and forth life ain't gonna work, like you know what I mean. And so it was either I'm gonna go all in on this business or whatever. But because the business wasn't really bringing the money in, I just made the decision to let the business go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I kind of, you know, after about 6 months of it, I kind of let it go. I resurged it back in the summer. We switched a bit to landscaping or whatever. And again, I was back doing physical work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like hard labor, like shoveling dirt, moving dirt. And I was like, you know what, man? This
I
ain't.
could be doing something better.
I could be doing something better. And that's kind of how, you know, I just kind of let it slide, let it go.
What would you say is your biggest lesson, biggest learning from that business?
You don't need it all up front. You know what I mean? Like you don't need like everything up front. Like you kind of build it as you go. You don't gotta take your money and just put it all. Like okay, you got the truck, go to work. You know what I mean? Or you know, you got a shovel, go to work.
Sure,
like you know, it might be a little bit more challenging for you at first, but like I think that was the biggest lesson. Like you don't need everything up front. You kind of like make some money, get it going a little bit, and now when you see that problem that's occurring over and over and over and over, okay, now you can buy that next thing to make it a little bit easier for you, right?
And I think that's a mistake that a lot of people kind of starting businesses kind of fall into, that trap of thinking, you know, I need everything up front, whether it's money or equipment. I need the business plan. I need every piece of it before I get started. And, you know, really, we really learn with business. It's just starting. It's just going, and you know that shit. You'll figure it out as you go. You'll make the adjustments. I'm not saying not to plan and not to have your ducks lined up. But you don't need 100 of the 100 ducks lined up. Matter of fact, if you do line 100 up, in 2 weeks you're gonna have 50 more ducks to line up. So just go figure it out. Like you said, if you got a shovel, go with the shovel. A lot of people might be thinking real estate and I need $1 million to start. It's like, nah, you can start by using other people's properties. You can start by immersing yourself in the space, and you really take some lessons from there. So no, that's real dope. The next business is actually one of my businesses. So Smooth Plan before Smooth Meal Plan. So that was I was in high school, so I was like 17, 18. Yeah. Whatever year that was. It's 2021 now. I'm 25. -7. What we got?
-8, bro.
-8.
21, 13.
So that's like 2013.
Yeah.
So, kind of how that started. If you know me, I play high-level ball. So that was when I was down in Huntington Prep in the States. So when I first got to the States, I kind of put some weight on. Right? I remember that first year down there eating that American food, man. You got freaking all kind of steroids and shit that I ain't never ate before, right?
The chicken's got some chickens in them.
Chicken got chickens in top of them. So, yeah, I put some weight on, and, it wasn't, I kind of grew up. I was never really the most ripped guy, but I was in good shape because I played ball. Yeah. But this time when I put weight on, it was a little harder to get it off. Like, it wasn't my usual come back to practice, do the regular shit. It was like, this shit ain't coming off. So I had to really lock in on a health and physical aspect to get it done. So, through that, I kind of went down a rabbit hole of, learning about nutrition, reading about how to, feed yourself, really immersing myself in the health and fitness kind of journey. And through that, I'm a guy that always shares, so I would share on my social media and shit. And kind of through my weight loss journey, and welcomed a lot of people in. So, I remember the next summer or next year I came back to Toronto, and, I'm full on fitness guy at this point, right? Like abs are ripped. I'm in the gym every day. Taking it to the next level of fitness. And again, just sharing, and people always ask me, hey, can you help me out? Can you give me some tips? Can you give me some plans? So, I start to think, I can create something here, right? There's an opportunity here. I seen guys online doing fitness plans and shit. So I'm like, I'm gonna try this out. Yeah. So I, did some research, created some meal plans. I found one guy in Miami, kind of same shit, copied his shit a bit, but put my own twist in it, and created the Smooth Meal Plan, which was basically a meal plan. So I would get all your information. I create a meal plan to fit your needs. If you're looking to lose weight, put on weight, whatever. Every meal that you have to eat for the week, workout routine, all that stuff. Package it all together and sell it to you for $40. And that's kind of how how that started, how it came to life. And I remember just really being on that. And then I kind of took a break from it for a bit. I probably sold like 30 meal plans or something. So whatever, 40 times 30, made a good little money. Then my ball season took back over. Yeah. So I had to focus back in on ball. Right. And then there was another summer, maybe a year later, I was going to L.A. I went out there at L.A., trained with X for a bit. I had like $600. Bought my flight, got to L.A., and I got like $100. And I'm in L.A., and
L.A. is L.A.
L.A. is L.A., right? My food and everything's good, but it's L.A. I'm trying to hit the club. I'm trying to hit Rodeo. I'm trying to do whatever it do, trying to make it happen. So, I'm like, as I got back into the fitness, again, people were inquiring. So I'm like, well, shit, I need some money. Here's this opportunity. I still have these plans created. Right. Let's go in again. And by that time, I was a year later. I had a little bit more knowledge of how I built it the first time, what went wrong, what didn't go right, and rolled it out again. And then that summer, it really took off. I probably made like $3,000, $4,000 that summer just as a 16, 17-year-old young man in LA, and that really I learned a lot from that lesson and from that business in that sense, right? So that was a Smooth Plan, and like I said, a big lesson for me there was I really got to understand marketing and that piece of the game of how I post and how I get someone to buy something. So I really started to use my personal brand and set people up in a way like, okay, today I'm posting the picture with me having abs. The next day I'm posting everything I ate today.
Yeah.
On Friday I'm posting here's how you buy this, right? So I really started to learn from that side of things, and I think that still carries over to today. So that's a smooth plan in 2013.
13, yeah.
The next business we got is something that we kind of did together. Crypto world back in 2017, early crypto days. Well, mid-early crypto days.
New early.
Exactly.
New era.
So yeah, I mean, start. You can start off. Just tell a bit about how that came to life. What's your earliest memories of that?
I mean, I think, it's a bit of both. Like, we did it kind of as an investment plan, like for us. Just we're trying to put some bread in, we're doing it. But then I think, the part of it that made it a business was when we decided that we were gonna, hit up other people and kind of manage their money for them. You know what I mean? And not like, no investment man. We were just hitting up the homies and we're like, all right, cool. Like, here's the plan. Boom, 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 and we're gonna eat some returns, and then we'll keep some. And that was kind of how it was a business, or whatever. So we kind of were like a firm, unregistered, like a hood firm. You know what I mean? And that's the thing too. Like a lot of the shit that we were doing, like, was just like community level hood shit. Like we weren't, it wasn't like no big ordeal. We ain't had no securities license or none of that. Well, you didn't even need that shit with crypto. Yeah. But so I think that's really important to spit on. Like, that's when we talk about what made it a business. And so again, I guess for me it was like, I remember seeing Bitcoin in like 2009. I just watched some random ass documentary, just some whatever that shit was. I ain't even really paid attention to it. Like, all right, whatever, boom. And then just life left. You know what I mean? It was like pennies. It didn't even matter. Yeah. And for one. Yeah. And then I remember we sat down with Sam at Niche. You know what I mean? I remember that shit like yesterday. And he's like, yeah, like I just bought some Bitcoin like a month ago for like $1,100 and it's $2,200, $2,300. I'm like, what? What you talking about? Exactly. Bitcoin? Yeah. What do you mean? So you bought $1,100 worth? He's like, no, like I bought one for $1,100. I'm like, you bought one for $1,100? What are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, look at it, man, and it's $2,000. So I'm like, shit. So my brain started like, I'm like, impossible. Yeah. So I had like, I'm like, if I would have just bought $1,000 of them or even $100 of them, I had $1 million right now. And I didn't think it was real. So whatever, and then boom, and then you were back to school. Yep. It was like June at that time. I'm like, fuck it. So then we just bought one, and then you went back to school. Remember, we went to the machines. Like, we went through all kind of shit trying to get it. And we bought one, and then like a month later, it was like doubled up, and like it was going crazy at the time. So how the business started was, again, like we just always sharing what we doing, and we trying to get rich, but we ain't trying to get rich by ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Like we trying to bring the homies with us. We trying to bring the people with us. Sure. And so it was like solving other people's problems. Like, yeah, people want to get rich. People want to do shit, but they don't know how. Yeah. You know what I mean? Well, here was like a real easy way. All you got to do is put some money in something, and then it's going to grow. So we just reached out to like small, close friends. Do you want in? Here's what I did. Do you want in? Because if you go try to do it, you're going to get lost. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Remember, like, with your keys and all that shit? Yeah. Like, it was, like, in them days, like...
No, in them days, it was near impossible.
Exactly.
Right? And, like you said, we started off on our own, and kind of my story of that. I was at Loyola, right? So there was a guy on my team. You always hear about Bitcoin shit. There was a guy on my team, and I'm studying finance, right? So I'm studying the stock market, and I'm deep in the stock market at this time. And the stock market, if you were Bitcoin and crypto, which still kind of is, but it's a fad, it's a bubble, it's all that shit, right? So I was drinking their Kool-Aid of like, nah, you bro. So the guy was always coming, man, you gotta buy Litecoin. He's showing me every day, $10 and then $20 and then $50. It's going up. I'm like, bro, you're gonna lose. That was my conversation to him. And then I think. Then that day when you called me, you're like, yo, I just rapped to Sam, and Sam is a guy. We're gonna talk about Sam probably every episode we do here. Yeah. We actually gotta get him in one day.
100%.
A guy super respected. What? He's a millionaire. Yeah,
he got the bag.
He locked in. But Yeah, so once I heard that Sam was in, I'm like, all right, I got to take another look at that. So, through taking a look and start to understand the blockchain and all that, I'm like, we got something here. It's real. So, like Corvell said, we went through the process of buying. But through that process, we seen how it was a lot of bullshit, right? And this was early Bitcoin days. You got to go to the machine. You got to have private keys. You got to have a private lock. And it was a lot of shit that any regular person, we were losing. We weren't getting lost. But anyone else, it wouldn't be easy. So, through that, as we started to share with others and want to bring others in, that was a conversation, right? So we wanted to create like you said, a firm essentially where, we got $2,000 or whatever the amount of money was from 10 to 20 people, and we started to invest it, right? Maybe talk a bit about that. How did we do that, and kind of what did that look like from the investment piece?
I mean, we just were sharing what we were doing. I think that's one of our biggest kind of, strengths is that we're just constantly sharing. Like, and a lot of times when we share what we're doing, it's with no obligation. Like, I'm just sharing it. Like, I ain't telling you to brag. I'm just sharing what I'm doing. Like, you should, like, this shit was working, so you should try this out. Like, and so, again, like, people want to be a part of shit and they want to make money. So, like I said, I just hit up a couple people like, yo, boom, you trying to get some bread? Give me 2 G's. You know what I mean? And I think, not to say my influence, but like I think my integrity, like, and I have proven it time and time again that like I'm a stand-up person when it comes to money. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, especially with the homies and shit. Like, and this is crazy. I'll touch on this early on, like early on in my life. Like, I had this on foolish shit with my closest homies when it came to money. Like, we got some money together. I kind of used it, thought I could get it and get it right back. And I learned that lesson early. You know what I mean? What it's like to burn other people. Yeah. And being the person that I was, like my integrity, like I bust my ass to get that money back. Sure. But I had to go through so much shit. But it was one point where I had to look my friends in the face and tell them like, yo, I spent the money.
I don't got that.
You know what I mean? So like I had learned that lesson
early.
Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? I had learned that lesson early. I knew what it felt like to disappoint other people. And I ain't never wanted to feel that no more. You know what I'm saying? So like in that, like I had really focused on becoming a person of integrity and being a man of my word. And so that reputation preceded me. And so when it's like, when I holler and I say, yo, like, you trying to get some money? Give me 2 G's. Like, the homies, they throw it.
That's right.
And so that's what we did.
Yeah. And I think, also, we were definitely respected, and it's still respected, of course. But, those, and even in those early days, we were seen as get money niggas, right? So them they getting money, and okay, shoot, whatever they're on, I'm trying to be on. So it was an easy kind of pull and grab to say, yo, here's this next opportunity, let's go. And, it did well. So I remember, I think we might have started with about 50 G's?
Yeah, so the first like the raise was 20. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I had just sold the condo away. So I had a couple extra dollars. Yeah. So, I had tapped in a little bit. So I think it was 20 and then 40. So 60 total.
Yeah.
Right?
So 60 and you put some in. And, at one point when crypto was doing this stupid thug dizzle, that 60 turned into about 400,000. 480. 480, right? Yeah, so we were sitting on close to 500, and had the people paying back. So I remember that those times. Remember it was New Year's Eve, and I'm counting the eggs before they hatch. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm doing my math. I'm doing my math. I got 100,000 coming. Yeah. So I'm at Baton Rouge New Year's Eve. I'm eating well. I'm doing it big. Boom, 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 boom. Living lavish, thinking lavish, and then crypto winter. January 8th
was the top.
January 8th was the top.
January 8th was the top. January 8th, 2018 was the top. We had started a second fund, and that's what's crazy. Like, it's like, all right, cool. People's hitting us up, like, I'm trying to get in, and we were like, nah, like, we got this thing going on. And we had decided Christmas we were going to start a second fund. Yeah. And
lower entry fee, for some of the other people that have been hitting us up. And that happened. So again, 480, and now let's talk January 8th. What happens after that?
The shit started hemorrhaging.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It started hemorrhaging, like, and it's crazy because, like, we had just started the second fund. I was really big believer in crypto. You know what I mean? Like, I was basically, like, putting myself through college at the time, like, learning the shit that I was learning, kind of backtrack a bit.
Yeah.
You know, we ain't just take the money in ourselves. We went and found some professionals. Like
Straight. Yeah,
we went and found developers. I was going to crypto meeting with developers. You know, people that are really big on the tech and people that knew what the frig they were doing. So, you know, we put a little bread in there with them and all that shit. So, like, you know, it wasn't just us. We had really took this thing and kind of was doing it for real.
Yeah.
But January 8th, shit started hemorrhaging. But what we did was we were so believers, like we were doubling down. You know what I mean? Like we're like, all right, shit, like this is a discount.
It's a discount. We're gonna
You know
buy
what I mean?
more. Hold
Right.
on for dear life.
Exactly. So we did that and it kept dropping.
Yeah.
And then you ain't got no more money now to buy no more. So
Yeah.
it's no more discount. Now it's just you looking at your money drop.
You're just trying to see it come back. And I remember, you know, we checking, because in the early days we checking every day. It would be days we making $10,000 or we made $20,000 a day. We were having $20,000 days, and then, you know, after that January 8th day, you looking and it's all red.
$20,000.
You done lost 20,000. You done lost
$40,000,
30,000. You done
like
lost 40, 50.
Stomach checks.
Right, and I mean we went all the way down. I think from that original 50, we might have got to like 15.
Yeah, 12.
$12,000
12, man.
from the original 50 that we put in, but from unrealized gains of 480,000.
Yeah.
Right, so we could have sold it that 480,000. We actually had a convo. You know, and Corvell always says it was me, but yeah, I said let's go to $1 million. We not stopping until we get to $1 million.
He was
But,
on that young boy
You know
shit.
what I'm saying? But anyway, we took that L. We went to 12. But there was a bounce back. So you know, to give you kind of time sense, we hit 12,000, and then we kind of just stopped looking at it. The world kind of stopped looking at it. We're like, we got nothing else to do now but to deal with it. So in that step as well, you know, in those years or so, there were people that kind of hit back and say, hey, what's happening? So we pay a lot of people out with our own money, right?
Yeah.
We give them kind of their original. Sometimes even more than it was worth. So, because that was a big piece of, like you said, that integrity, and we put our name on. We believe in this, and you know, it was hard to look people in the face and say, "Well, that money's gone." So, you know, we paid those some stuff there, and talk about that bounce back. So what, and we'll keep it a little bit brief. But what was that next step recently when we kind of seen that crypto come back to life?
So yeah, I had deleted all the apps. You know what I mean? I deleted all the apps. I ain't even checking no more. Like I ain't even really pay attention to crypto. I just knew that it's either gonna go to zero or it's gonna go back up. You know what I mean? And one day, you know, you start seeing like the ads, like, you know, crypto, they do a real good job. Like the crypto space, they start pumping. And, you know, you seeing ads here and there. You start seeing different people posting about crypto, like newbies, I call them, you know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, okay, what's going on? So one day I just tapped in. I remember we had like those tracker apps which just tracked all our coins.
Yep.
And so I just logged on. I had even like forgot the password.
Yeah.
So I logged on and I'm like, shit, nah, this ain't right.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
I'm like, nah, this ain't right.
Yeah.
It was like 200 racks.
Yeah.
Right? And
so
I'm like,
he calls me. Oh,
yeah, no, that's what I was about to say. I called you.
So he calls me and he says, "You're richer than you think."
yeah. So before I called you though,
okay.
I had to go. I'm like, this app is broke.
Yeah, something's wrong.
And I went and I like tapped in and I'm like, let me go look at like, you know, I remember we had certain coins. Let me just go look at crypto. And and I'm like, oh no, this shit is real.
Yeah.
Right? And then I called you. I'm like, yo, you richer than you think.
So now when he calls me, I'm like, all right, well, he don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
The app's broke. Because I was always kind of the technical guy. I knew, you know, where shit was and how to get in. I'm like, he probably is this thing called crypto compare. So it's not your actual account. It's a tracker of your account, right? You just said that. So yeah, I'm like, he probably just got a tracker that's wrong. So I'm like, you know, and then I didn't really give him no mind. I said, no, for sure, we'll check it out. Then he calls me again, and he tells me that I think I'm at the club actually. He like tells me shows me the amount.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay,
yeah,
let me go look into this for myself. So first, because we had two different sets of accounts, I kind of managed some, he managed some. So I went and looked at mine, and it was looking real. So, you know, digging in, and he's looking at his, and it's really looking real. So we had to go through we had to take a whole day to find, because again, there's a bunch of different floppy disks, there's a bunch of different keys and little things and password relocks and
we were deep in this
Google
shit.
2-factor authenticators.
Yeah, we were
if you were hacking us,
yeah,
you were hacking us, right?
and we had been early on when it was dark web shit. We was in the dark web.
Yeah,
right.
Shit that bad user faces and all that. So basically, we had to have a whole day to track inventory and to lock down all our shit, and we did that. And yeah, I think the amount was
it was $200K.
Yeah, it was 200,000. 200,000. So that original went to that. So yeah, I mean to sum it up, it was good. We doubled up a lot of people's money. We paid everyone back from the second fund.
Yeah, so that's the thing too. So we had 2 funds. So just remember, like fund 1, they were like October. The next one was January.
Yeah.
So in total, like we might have like the first 50, and then the next group we raised like 40. You know what I mean? So somewhere like 90,000. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so
everyone doubled up, right?
Yeah.
So we made it a point to I found everyone that was in the fund, and I was real excited to message them and be like, yo, remember that thing you invested in 3 years ago when you give us $500? Well, I got $1,000 for you.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of them, they done forgot about it and whatever, but people really appreciated that, and that was a real piece that I mean, we could have been shit asses and ran off in the sunset, and they wouldn't have knew no different. They forgot about it. But talk a bit about that, and that integrity piece and why we value that so much. Why you think? Yeah, just talk about that.
Your name is your brand. You know what I mean? Like even the name of the podcast. I'm a business.
Straight.
You know what I mean? But I'm a businessman.
Straight.
You know what I'm saying? So like I think that understand that integrity piece. Like we could have easily took that money. No one would have even cared. They wouldn't have knew. You know what I'm saying? We could have bought a building, bought a condo, whatever we would have done with it. You know what I mean? And nobody would have even questioned it. You know what I'm saying? But I think for me, like the value is you forgot about that.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? You forgot about it. You thought that was a loss. I'm gonna hit you up when you ain't even expecting and drop that bag on you, because in the end, I'm gonna get it back later.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now, when you think of opportunity, who you gonna think of? You're gonna think of me. When you think of like you try and do something, who you gonna think of? You're gonna think of me. You're gonna think of that person, that stand up person that like he
went out of their way.
Went out of their way to make sure that I ate. You know what I'm saying?
And they had me. If they wanted to, they could have got me. And I think that's whatever the $200,000 or $300,000, whatever it was, it wasn't worth. That piece was worth more. When I hit those people up out the blue, they forgot. I give them back $1,000, but really is worth $10,000 because even them, when I gave it back to them, a lot of them like, man, just keep it and reinvest it. Right? I'm like, no, we're not doing it now, but I got you soon. Yeah. But that piece, because we're playing $100 million game here, a marathon, a real long race. So and my equation is, in 5 years when we plan this building we trying to build, when we hit you up for 10 G's. That's ass is a little easier because it's like, man, them guys are they're
for real. They ain't gonna
real.
stiff me.
Exactly.
They ain't gonna run off on the they say
run off
on the plug
twice.
twice. Like I ain't running off on the plug. You know what I mean? Like I used to hate that shit when people say that shit. It's crazy. I'll tap into this real quick. Like when I was out there doing my thing, it would be so many times where there was so many opportunities to rip people off.
Straight.
Like simple, like a lot of, no disrespect to a lot of these hustlers out there, but they can't count.
No.
And like people would give me like $50 more, $500 more, like random money more. You know what I'm saying? And they're like, I would just hit them up like, yo. And then they don't even know what it was. I just give them their money back. Like, yeah, you gave me too much.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And like, it used to blow a lot. I remember it used to blow people's mind, but I'm like, man, over $50? You know what I mean? Like, even if, like, I ain't never played that game, like, people testing me. But, like, I just, like, this is yours. That belongs to you. You know what I mean? Like, that's yours. And I think
I didn't earn that.
I ain't earned that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I don't want what I ain't earned.
And like you said, the one, on the sense of, okay, if it's a test, well, I ain't playing that anyway.
Yeah.
But two, the value, for me to keep $50, but the value to show my integrity, and I'm not even really doing it to show, but to myself,
straight.
I got to hold that integrity. But for you to see that, that increases any relation, because this shit is all relationship, from 100%. The streets to the corporate room to Paul, whatever. It's relationship. So to increase that relationship, I think that value is far more valuable than $50 a steak at the keg.
Straight.
Right? Get done. So boom.
Biggest lesson in crypto.
Yeah,
though.
biggest
lesson
lesson
for the crypto business.
Yeah.
The business. Don't think about crypto. Think about the business.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest it's so much, man. I think that was our biggest learning because it was our biggest amounts. It was our most dealings with people. So it was a lot of shit. But if I could take a couple away, I think that lesson we learned recently with the integrity piece was huge.
Yeah.
But I also think, you know, not trying to win the race and not trying to win the race on the first lap.
Right. Straight.
Right. So it was
Straight.
like, okay, frig, yeah,
That's
we had 400. Okay, cool. Let's pull 200, and boom. And now let's take that 200 and keep building. But you know, we were going for I was. I was going for the fucking boom.
Yeah.
The super win, and it's like we can marginalize that win.
Yeah, I mean, you know, those two I think were like the biggest lessons. But just to kind of add something different, I think this was real valuable. That was something that we did, and we ain't know to do it, but we just did it. And I think in hindsight, you know, dealing with professionals.
Oh yeah.
I think that was a big lesson for me. Like that shit's real. Like when they say like go get you some professionals, that shit's real. You know what I mean?
People that are doing what they're supposed to do and know how to do it.
Yeah, like they doing they're doing the thing. They do the thing.
Yeah.
So like that was huge because you know like without like Mike and Sam and Frick Devin at the time, like there was a couple dudes, man, that like they were like they straight developers. Like these guys is they develop like tech, and you know being in conversation with them allowed us to eliminate a lot of the fluff. So like I think you know the integrity piece, and you know pull something. Don't win a 20-mile race in the first lap, and then dealing with professionals. I think those were like some of the biggest lessons and huge life lessons for sure.
Going right on to the next, Smooth Meal Prep. So Smooth Meal Prep is a business that we're in now. I got the shirt on right now, Smooth Meal Prep. Started in about 2018, and then really how that started, it was kind of a little bit of a continuance from Smooth Plan. So I kind of already had the meal plans and things like that. But my mom, shout out Mom Karen, she was making smoothies for people. She was making meals for us. And, you know, she wanted to, you know.
She's looking for a second job.
She was looking for a second job. So we kind of bridged our two brains together. You know, started making meals for myself and Corvell and Dad. Posting those meals on social media, getting the word out. And, you know, we really seen that there was a real opportunity here. It didn't really exist in Halifax. There's a lot of opportunity to get this rolling, and that's kind of how it started. Can you talk a bit about that start and the why behind that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, for me, it was just trying to help my mom. You know what I mean? Like I had watched this woman, you know, not to go too deep, but like I watched her work her ass off my whole entire life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know nobody personally that work harder than her. Not even me. You know what I mean?
No, she don't stop.
And I had watched this lady work her ass off forever, and I had watched her work second jobs all the time. Like she won a trip, she'd go on a second job. So at this juncture in her life, she was about to do her regular thing. I'm looking for another job. I'm going to get another job, my second job. And I used to hate that shit. So I'm like, man, you need to start a business. So boom, like you said, you were at the same time. It was St. Mary's doing your thing, trying to get a little bit of bread on the side, but you were really trying to get back in shape. So it was like, all right, cool. This was just a good link up. But I think, you know, just for me, for the why, it was like I was just trying to help my mom. Yeah. You know what I mean? And for me personally, right?
Straight. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of how it started. And, you know, to say what we do, you know, we're a healthy meal delivery service. So we provide and deliver healthy meals to your door, really focusing on fitness and helping people stay on track with their fitness goals. But a big part of that as well is community, and we might touch on that a bit. But really providing jobs in our community, in the North Preston community, in the Black Nova Scotian community, and really being a beacon and a highlight for Black business. So
but I don't think real shit. I don't think that was.
No, I'm saying
in the beginning.
No, this is now.
Okay.
So I kind of went from the how it started to this is what we do. Right.
Straight.
But yeah, in the beginning we were just getting meals out and you know really. A second income from Mom, a little bit of more cash for me, and we seen that there was a real opportunity here, in our natural instincts to take it to the next level. And we just kept climbing as we went.
Cause the first deal was like 80-20. Like
Yeah.
you were getting 20% for selling.
Yeah.
And she would get 80%. She'd make all the food.
Yeah.
That was the first deal. That was the first smooth meal prep contract. And I wasn't even part of the business. I just brokered the deal. I'm like, all right, negotiation.
Yeah, exactly.
Came, I'm gonna get $80. You're gonna get a $20. And
all I'm doing is selling, and all she's doing cooking.
10 meals.
She wanted 10 customers.
Yeah.
And the next week we had like 20.
Yeah.
And we're like, what's up? You taking them down? She ain't turning down money.
No.
Before we knew it, we 3 years in this shit, and boom. So that was my next question. Kind of where are we at currently? Growing. Still growing. We probably hit about $500,000 this year in sales. Team of what we got, about 15.
Smooth meal prep. I mean
between 15 to maybe 18 of part-time and full-time people in the building and doing different things. So an organization that's really kind of grown quickly. And my next question: what would you say is next for Smooth Meal Prep?
It's so hard to answer that, man. Like, cause I see us expanding to all across Nova Scotia. I see us in another province. But I also see us really like owning the space. You know what I mean? Like in HRM. Like you know what I mean? So it's like it's a little bit of both. But but 100%. One of the things that I do see is employing underrepresented people in managerial roles. Inside of our business. You know what I mean? So like the next thing I see for sure is putting unrepresented people in meaningful positions in the private sector. That's what I think is next, 100%.
No, that's dope, right? And I agree. I think that's a big part of what we're trying to build. Like you said, one, really owning the HRM, and I think we're really hitting that stride and getting pretty close there. And like you said, providing those jobs. And then on another frontier as well, internally in the business, financially really making it make sense. And even from a work perspective of, Corvell's not in the kitchen, where I'm not doing answering emails and really having the business run itself. And we really play a higher end roles.
Because at this point, I'm ready to go back to cutting wood, bro. Like I'm telling you, the kitchen to every chef, to anybody that work in the kitchen, man. Listen, hats off to you. If you ever see me downtown or anywhere, I'm gonna buy you a drink. No bullshit, because kitchen work is hard. It's hard work, man. It's hard work,
and that's a good segue to our next business. Knowing how hard kitchen work is, we decided to start another business in the kitchen, R&B Kitchen. You probably heard about it. We consider ourselves and kind of the streets labeled us the #1 soul food Caribbean food spot in Canada. I mean, not Canada. Sorry, that went too far. Not yet. Maybe though. But in Nova Scotia,
honorable mention.
Nova Scotia for sure. Talk a bit about how that started.
Our R&B Kitchen, it started just us doing what we do. We here. We had Smooth Meal Prep. We had just got our own space. We running 2 days a week, Sundays and Wednesdays. The other days is just a free kitchen open. We're trying to get paid, right? So we're like, you know what? Like,
serial entrepreneurs.
Yeah, we got an opportunity here. Let's put some meals out. And, you can talk a bit about the name, but I think that's really what started. It was like Smooth Meal Prep. We have been bootstrapping. We've been just building the business. We ain't getting paid. We ain't making no money. Like, we making money, but we ain't taking no money, right? So, like, you putting all this time into this business, but you ain't getting no money. So we're like, you know what? Like, bro, like, we trying to get some money. So, like, we need to do something else. And we're like, we got 5 days out of the week that we're not operating this space, this professional kitchen that we done created. Let's get some bread and let's put some meals out. And so that's kind of how we got to the next level, like, what we gonna call this shit and all that, right? So you can hit that.
Yeah, and I mean, that's like you said, that's kind of how it started. Just opportunity, and again, our minds, we kind of downplay things or see things smaller than we might actually make them in. But then we start going big. We're like, all right, we're just gonna make some meals on the side. Ray My Dorrington, Yeah, she's a great cook. Could make a lot of food, make a lot of different meals, and she was always cooking food and Caribbean food. She lived in Toronto and all that, so we're like, all right, we could do something. People love this kind of food. We always kind of wanted this kind of food around here. Let's roll it out.
Yeah.
So we rolled it out. I don't know. I started thinking about what we could call it. And the name R&B Kitchen first, I wanted to call it. We all love R&B music, so I wanted to go in the R&B space. And I was thinking of the meals names like Honey Love Chicken and Killing Me Softly, or Cornbread that came later, and just basically Let It Burn Lasagna, right? All kind of names around R&B music, and then the name R&B Kitchen came to life. Yeah. So I remember just having conversation, just hitting the idea off of people, and it was ringing. It was ringing some bells.
Depending on who you ask, though, it's it's important too, because this is one of the most debated things right now or forever. Depending on who you ask, Nevell didn't create this name. If you ask Nevell, he say he created the name. But if you ask me, I say I created the name.
I don't think so.
He do that all the time though, but I think it's real important that I put that little piece in there, because he'll be using a lot of I's and ums and me's.
Yeah.
And he'll be like, I don't know.
I don't know either, but I'm pretty sure this one, I do it, but I think this one I'm going to take the credit on, because I remember specifically calling Dice. Dice was one of my earliest soundboards. I wanted to give him another name. I ran the name by him. He's like, oh, yeah, no, that's a hit. That's a hit. They're going to love that. They're going to love that. So once I got the Dice approval, we was ready to go. So, yeah, I mean, we rolled it out. And similar way, our own social media, really building that up. And that's kind of how we grew. One, by, we wanted to, provide the best food ever from around here, the best tasting plate. And we wanted to do it at a good price. A good price. That was a key piece for us. And then thirdly, we wanted to really be for the culture, by the culture. Yeah. Right. So the words we said, the ways we called the meals, everything we wanted to be, we wanted to fully embrace Black Nova Scotia.
Yeah. Because it was like, when we look around, we ain't really see no Black Nova Scotian businesses. Yeah. Like, there's tons of Black Nova Scotia businesses, but like in the service world and all that stuff, and especially food, like, there's no Black Nova Scotian businesses. So we have been like, we wanted something that we could have pride in, like Black Nova Scotians, like to be able to say like that's our spot. Like when we touch down, we come into R&B Kitchen.
Yeah, and that was one of the key things we said. Like, a lot of times people come into the city, they might be coming away, they're coming home for funerals, whatever. We wanted this to be the first place you come to when you touch down. Yeah. Right? Like you're coming, if you're outside and you want to experience Black Nova Scotia, you got to come to that place. Yeah. And I think we've kind of created that in this year or 2 year span. And we started this in February 2020.
One month before the pandemic. I'll touch on that real quick, because I think that's really important piece of like how we were able to become so successful so fast with R&B Kitchen. And like I said, we just started trying to put out some meals. Ray Mai is a serious chef. She got some like a real unique way of cooking and making food, very creative. So it was like just sweet spot, boom. But when the pandemic came, we were already positioned. We were already just takeout and delivery. Right. Like, you know what I mean? We weren't a dining restaurant. Yeah. So when the pandemic came and they like switched to takeout and delivery, we were already positioned. So I think we had a head start. God's plan. Like we had a head start on a lot of other businesses. And what we did, I think that was like the game changer for us was because we're givers. And it's like, man, we're looking at our people out here struggling and, people trying to find a way to get through this shit. We did something stupid, in my opinion, but it was great. It was like a crazy decision, but we did free delivery in HRM. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like free delivery in HRM, and then we even had to start charting because people were calling like from Bedford and shit, right? So like and Spryfield and all that crazy shit. But like we were like, for one meal, and it was like logistically it just didn't make sense. But we took that shit on and we did it, and I think that was the game changer for us. I think that was the thing that like not only people felt like man, really?
That's what's up.
It was one of those. Are you sure? And I think that's what gave us the credibility. Like the food's great, but I think that's what gave us the credibility. Like they ain't just trying to take from us.
The cost to when we were giving you your plate, we're filling the plate up. We want you to say, man, they give them way too much for this price, and it's that good. We wanted every piece. You know, this is memorable. You're gonna guarantee you're gonna go home and tell someone about that place, right? And you know, we seen that growth, you know, so quickly. You know, we built our social media page. We got up to like 20,000 followers across Instagram and Facebook and all that, TikTok, and you know, a lot of that has just been word of mouth and, you know, providing the best food, providing the best service, providing something that you don't really see in that sense, right? So that's R&B Kitchen. A lot more, and we'll talk about that type of stuff as we go throughout the season. And lastly, to wrap it up real quick, you know, we've kind of started a new business, another business, not as, you know, another one of those kind of hood businesses, if you will, but a business itself, and it's different compartments with the B&B brothers, right? So the B&B brothers, me, Corvell, and Dice, we kind of pulled together a lot of stuff. So we own a couple cars, we own a couple jet skis, we got a tent that we rent those. So if you got a wedding, we'll come and get your tent set up. We got jet skis, we'll drop it off to you. And yes, I mean, talk really quick and even newer, micro loans, micro business loans, payday loans, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So talk a little bit quickly about, you know, what that is, how that started, what does that look like?
In this game of you know, wealth building, you're gonna need a lot of different arms. Straight. You know what I mean? You're gonna need a lot of different babies, if you will, that's out there, you know, hunting the money for you. And if you look at ways to get it, I think, you know, you could sell a product and then you have it and then you sell it to somebody, you make a margin and it's done. Or you could rent a product or a service, you know what I'm saying? Where like you let somebody borrow it for a minute and then they bring it back and then you rent it to somebody else. So you know, I think I really like that formula of purchasing something and letting people rent it for a minute and then give it back to you. You know what I mean? And then do it again. And so I just think that's the simplest way for me to put it. Like I'm really big on the rent thing right now, because the nature of it. Right? I get to do it over and over and over again.
For me, kind of how I remember we wrote down 10 different or 20 different ways for passive income. Right. And then that came from, you know, we in the kitchen, we working hard. We seen all the physical labor we're putting into a lot of this shit. It's like, all right, there's easier ways to make money. So what can we do to add that to our portfolio? And we wrote some shit down and different opportunities came. You bought a tent. We seen some jet skis for sale. The jet ski store is pretty cool. Quickly, I'll talk. We were looking for jet skis to buy for our own leisure, and through seeing that, you know, they weren't available. They were sold out. COVID, whatever. The chips, they were sold out till like next year. So I'm like, well, that's strange. And then I looked around for places to rent. You couldn't rent them. So automatically, the opportunity that I see. So I made a quick fake ad on Facebook. Found a guy in the States. Took his pictures. Put it up saying, hey, we got jet skis for rent, $200. What's up? And got like 200 messages, no lie, in like a span of 2 days. So I'm like, all right, call Corvell. I'm like, this is real. We got to find some jet skis. We found some, bought them, brought it to life, right? And, you know, similar with the tent. You know, one day Corvell he always was saying, we got to rent this out. I'm like, I didn't know, but I didn't think people would spend $600 on a tent, but I never rented a tent. Right. So we finally got it up. I'm like, all right, I'll take some pictures of it, took it up, put them on Facebook Marketplace. And so between the tent, I like to talk numbers because I think it just gives a sense, and we open and we like to share. Between the tent and the jet skis, I checked my notes, but we probably did about 20, maybe 18. Right. About 18,000 in revenue this summer alone.
Right. From like June 1st.
From June. Right. And that's what the jet skis was broke down a bunch. The tent, you know, we didn't have a schedule, all kind of shit, right? But just simply having the items, being able to rent them, and Facebook Marketplace is real. If you got an idea, get it on Facebook Marketplace and get it popping, because that shit is real. And something so simple as that, you know, we've been able to eat off of. And, you know, the plan moving forward is to remove even more of our time, right? So next summer we want a crew of guys that can go set the tent up, right? We call them, hey, go to this place, set it up. Boom, the tent set up. We eat, right? They get whatever their cut is, we get our piece. Jet skis, whatever, right? And, you know, similar with the car, that's little to no work, right? It's who do you need a car? Okay, well, obviously there's work when it's breaking down and shit, but the car is driving. We're not doing anything while that car is driving,
right?
And we're able to eat off of that, right?
So, but I think the key component was we were doing books and boxing with the little homies, and Trev had come one day and he tapped us back into Rich Dad Poor Dad, like so that's one of the first books that I read front to back ever. Greatest to me, like outside of the Bible and shit, like for me that was like my big, like that was one of the greatest books I read. I didn't even read the whole Bible, but my grandmother, with God bless her soul, she'd be real pissed if I ain't say that. But long story short, he tapped us back in. We were playing the Clash of Quadrant game. You know what I mean? And I remember we had a whole day, like we were just trying to figure that shit out, like get it up online or whatever. But we were playing it, and it was cool. But I went home and played it, and I remember telling you, like I lost the game like fucking 7 times, bro. And I'm playing this shit like I'm trying to win. It's just me in the fucking game. Like I ain't even playing with nobody else. And I kept losing. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And one day I won. But I won because I only borrowed money to buy deals that would give me positive cash flow, and they were passive. And I won. And I called you. I'm like, yo, bro, like I want, this game is for real. Like this shit got my brain like working. So we were on. I'm like, yo, like we gotta get some passive income. Like we got to get some passive income. And in terms of like the actual thing that we decided is like really it's just taking the inaccessible and making it accessible. You know what I mean? Solving other people's problems. Take the inaccessible, make it accessible. We try to find things that are out in the world and bring it back to the hood. But like in this case, like, like a tent, like it's hard to get them. You know what I mean? There's only one game in town. And
then if you want it, you got to spend $3,000 to buy it. Right? And even to rent, it's expensive and it's hard to rent. So, And overall, kind of the game plan with the rental link is what we're talking. That's kind of our next plan and our next to turn that into really something. So right now we got the tent, the cars, the jet skis, whatever. We want to add more items to that. We want to add more things. Items that you might need an excavator for a day. Right. You're not gonna go buy an excavator, and there's not too many places you can rent an excavator. I'm not sure. Or there's because I don't know. There's a barrier. There's a gap. There's a market where we can market that to people. So overall with that, really creating that website, that place where you can come to and rent a bunch of shit. Right. And that's kind of our next thing that we're really looking to build. And there's a bunch of other next things, and we'll keep tapping into that.
I think in every business there was a lesson to be learned that you couldn't learn from the other business, and you bring that lesson and now you know it. You know what I mean? And so like when you look at the evolution over time, like when we go way back to PHNW, to now, like there's so many kinks that we figured out and so many things that we figured out that we don't want to do, or that we, ways that we don't want to do things, or things that work. And I think like, when we went and we stayed at the Airbnb one night, and the guy's like, I'm like on my 34th business. And I'm looking at this guy like, what are you
talking
that's
about?
A bunch of like time. But I realize now that like, no, that's a bunch of lessons. You know what I'm saying? And so like, to anybody out there that's trying to be that, want to become an entrepreneur, or you are an entrepreneur, like don't get hung up on like that business. Don't get stuck. You know what I mean? Like not to tell you to walk away from your shit, but like it's okay to like reconfigure and like you know what I mean, like go in a different direction. I'm not telling you make a habit of it. You know what I'm saying? Because like I was watching a podcast and dude was like, nah, like you want to stay in that area. You don't, because now you gotta go make new relationships. You know what I'm saying? So you want to stay in the area. But what I will say is like everything got a lesson. If I look at my life in business, everyone gave me a new lesson that brought me here today. So I think it's important for people to understand that, like,
And I would agree. I think, that piece, and for me, is to see the growth, right? And that growth only came from doing one after the other. And now we're at a place where, okay, our businesses are the best they ever been, right? Between the two main businesses. And because at each step we learned and we figured out the pieces. And okay, the next businesses and these businesses, as they continue to grow, will be better, and we're learning within these businesses. And ultimately for me as well is just like we always say, go. You hear the whys and how these stories started. It wasn't no miraculous shit. It wasn't we didn't have $1 million. It was just an idea, a problem needed to be solved, and we went for it. Sometimes they failed, sometimes they didn't work, sometimes we lost. But through every loss, there, cliche, there's a lesson, and it got us to this point today that we still got more learning and still more to go. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for tuning in, episode 1. Like I said, you can find us anywhere, any podcast, subscribe, all that stuff on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts. A lot of these kind of episodes, just really giving the game, sharing the game, opening up our stories. And thanks a lot for tuning in.
100%. See you next episode.
Let's keep getting the bag.
You
Boom.
said it.